Welcome to Heart Home Community's most recent Baldwinsville Community Update. I'm your host, Shelley Hoffman. Hey everybody, I'm here with Bob Wicks today. Bob, we took a month off for like a summer break. So it's been 2 months since I spoke to you last. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm doing really well. Did you have a nice 4th of July?
I had a great 4th of July. And I like your intro, by the way.
Thank you. I give credit to I don't know if you know Ted Croucher. He's a chiropractor in the community, but he referred his brother to me who does drone videos, and he came and took it. And I just, I'm addicted to my building. I tell everybody it's my 4th child. So I was happy to have some footage. But so anyway, I know a lot has probably been happening. I still talk to the mayor at least twice a month. And that's part of the town that's in the on the Lysander side. He's got a lot of things going on. So what's been happening in your world as far as the town of Lysander?
Well, I'm sure people saw the news conference with the county executive, and they're going to have another round of the stimulus for people in towns and villages to put money towards their facades and their buildings, and there's monies available in the village of Baldwinsville. So because that's really the only downtown area that we have. I've been trying to find places in the town where we could utilize that, but we really don't have areas that would fit the criteria. So if people are looking to do something with their building, especially in the business district, they ought to contact the village and the mayor to make sure that they get their request in, because when the money's gone, the money's gone. So.
Do you know if there's any requirements as far as, like I know when the grant for the facades that I was a part of last year, there were certain things that they were looking for. Is there anything they're looking for, or is it just something that I'm
not sure what the criteria is. I haven't seen it, but I think it's similar to when you were doing it. So you would be able to speak to that a little bit better than I would as far as what the criteria was. I think there is some matching monies that the business owners would have to put up, but I'm not sure. That would be something that you could get the information from the mayor.
Okay. And I just for anybody listening, I think for me, I believe it was 27% of the total cost is what I was responsible for. And then the county had given money, 3 estimates. You had to show them that you tried to get the best price possible for the work and the labor, but it was, I think it said at least 25%. Ours ended up being about 27, or at least mine did. I can't speak for Gary and Tim and some other guys that were part of it, but it was great. I mean, and again, for those of you that do not know, my building is 12 Oswego Street in the village. And if you take a look at it now compared to it was this time probably a year and a half ago, the money went to good use. I fixed the clock. They helped me fix the clock in the village, stuff like that. So
that looks great. Yeah. Your building looks great. It really does. And there's, I'm not going to out any businesses in the area, but there's a few places in the downtown area that could use a facelift, and that money, I mean, like you said, 27% of the cost. That's not bad compared to what it probably cost you to redo that building. I know that wasn't a cheap endeavor. That came out really well though.
Yeah, thank you. It was fun. Well, being in real estate, anytime something goes from a building or a room or a house goes from this to this, it's right up my alley. So I like looking at it. But anyway, so that's one thing going on. I know Brian May will probably talk a little bit about that when I talk to him, and I'll bring it up to the mayor in case he wants to throw out some more information to people when I talk to him on Wednesday. But what else has been going on in the town of Lysander?
Well, I wanted to let people know that the planning board hearing on the proposed warehouse this week they're still going to have a planning board meeting, but that proposal is no longer before the planning board. So what they're actually doing is they're downsizing the size of their project. And when they do that, because it's not the same project, even though it's on the same area and the property is going to be utilized in a similar fashion, the project's different. So they have to go through the process again. So if people were thinking about coming and speaking about either for or against the project that was originally proposed, that project is no longer a viable project, and they're going to close the public hearing. They're going to have some short discussion on it, and then they're not going to take any more comments on it because the project is no longer before the board. So.
Can I just ask for clarification, because I'm kind of learning how those meetings work a little bit. So when you say it's closed, and I might have to adjust my my intro, but does that mean that as a public person, can I still come to the planning board meeting? It just won't be, that topic won't be discussed. Nobody will be asking for my opinion on it, or is that something the public doesn't even come to at this point?
No, you were right. The any planning board meetings or any meetings of the town board or any other meetings, they're all open to the public. There's very few exceptions. If we have, the only time we'd have closed meetings if we're talking, if we're getting, the board is getting legal advice, or if we are talking about contract negotiations, which we do, those are closed to the public, but every other meeting is open to the public, and they're welcome to come anytime they want. We advertise all of those. So the planning board meeting will be open, but as far as the discussion on the current proposed warehouse, the discussion is going to end, because that project is no longer a viable project. They're going to have to go through the whole application process again to determine what they're going to do with that property and with the warehouse. But it's not going to that million or plus feet of warehouse is no longer going to be before the board. So they're just going to close if it's no longer before the board, then they're going to close the public hearing, because it goes away.
Right. And you may not be able to answer this. I just wanted to ask, because people might be wondering if they're making the warehouse smaller. Then I know there were some concerns with maybe like the wetlands, things like that. Does it eliminate some of the issues that were coming up with the larger building, correct? Or is it too small?
Yes, because I haven't seen what the new proposal is going to be, but I understand it's going to be quite a bit smaller. So a lot of the issues that were a concern for the planning board, wetlands, traffic, a lot of those issues go away. So that's why they have to have a new application, and then they'll have to supply the plans to the planning board, which will then go to the county DOT, who will have to do another traffic study on that. So they go through the whole process, but a lot of the wetlands issue, it's my understanding now, the wetlands issue and some of the traffic issues are no longer going to be an issue because of the size of the project. Okay.
And again, it may not matter as much, but can you explain to the public? I know that, just because I live in the town, and that there was people going around and signing things, and it said that there was 900 people that were against it. We had kind of talked about that. In walking the community, obviously I heard both sides of it. I heard some people who were kind of looking forward to having the business brought to it, whether it's a larger building or smaller building. But was it really 900 people that signed that petition within our community that said they did not want it? Because that's a lot of people, that possibly signed it.
Yeah, and because of the number of the people that when there was a should shut that down. There was a petition presented to the planning board, and it was claimed that there were 900 signatures against the project. So I wanted to see exactly how many signatures were against the project. And when you have signatures, they have to be signatures. You have to go out, when you have a petition, you have to go out and actually physically sign it. Somebody has to witness it. So out of the 900, there were 600 that was an online survey. Well, that's not signatures, and that's not a petition. because you can't verify if, in fact, the people that are going online are, in fact, who they say they are. So I looked at the other the petitions with actual signatures, and I think there was about 240 or just under 240 signatures. Out of those 240 signatures, 107 of them weren't even in the town of Lysander. They were from Oswego, they were from Fulton, East Syracuse, Liverpool, from every, they weren't residents. So out of the ones that I could verify, out of the signatures that I could verify, I counted about 125, somewhere around there, signatures that were residents of Lysander that were against the project. Now, I'm sure that on that online survey, some people did live in the town of Lysander, but to say that there were 900, there wasn't 900. There was, that we could verify, about 125. But from the calls that I got, there were people calling me that were in favor of it. And the thing is, most people, if they're busy, they're not going to come in, hey, we're in favor of it, because it's moving forward. The people that generally show up to things like that are people that are against it. They're motivated. They're against it. Well, if you have 125 people, and we were getting somewhere between 60 and 100 people showing up at the meeting, which would be consistent with those 125 signatures. Well, we have over 23,000 people in the town of Lysander. So 125 people really is not a big representation of the town. I'm not saying that it's not a representation of the people that don't like it, but I can tell you that I received numerous calls from people. Where do I get the signs? Because there are some signs, say no to the warehouse. But there were other people that called me, where do I get my signs to say yes for the warehouse? And I told them, well, we weren't issuing those out. Those were done. Those are private individuals getting those signs done. So I can tell you that I don't know if I got 125 calls. I doubt that I did, but there were number of people that called up in favor. And when I went into the community, there were a lot of people that were in favor of that project.
Do you have to live? So my next question then is, Fulton's just down the road from us, obviously. Do you have to live in the town of Lysander in order to sign that petition, or would something where that was going to be built have an impact on Fulton or other communities that they would possibly have a say in it? I know you are concerned with the town of Lysander, right? Because those are your residents. But I'm just curious, for the other people that signed it, would they truly be impacted by it based on where they live and where that warehouse was going to go? And maybe you can answer that.
If you go into the city of Fulton, and that's why we didn't have a meeting last month. I was there for a funeral of a friend of mine. And you go through that city, there's not a lot going on. Nestle and some of the other buildings that were used to employ a lot of people, those things are vacant. And they've torn down some of the other buildings that used to employ a lot of people. So when the people in Fulton, is it going to impact them? Yeah, in a positive way, because they probably, a lot of the people that were working at Nestle, if they weren't, or in some of the other industries there, if they were still out of a job, they'd be able to come down the road and they'd be able to work there. It'd be a positive impact on them. As far as the negative impact, there's no negative impact on them that I can see, and certainly not in Liverpool and Oswego. But when the planning board or the town board is looking at signatures, we're looking at our residents. How does it impact our residents? Now, I look at it in a macro perspective. I also look at it, how's it going to impact, the village, and part of the village is in Van Buren, and how does it affect the people in Van Buren? Because we're all one big community. That's the way I look at it. But from my perspective, I thought it was going to impact them positively, because contrary to what some people were saying, they were going to pay taxes, and those taxes they were going to pay school taxes. Well, the school taxes not only impact the Lysander residents positively in a good way, they impact the residents of the town of Van Buren in a positive way. So anybody that's in the school district was going to benefit from that industry providing taxes to the school district, which helps us all. Because some people come out, and there were some people that are currently on the school board now that came out and they weren't in favor of the project. Okay, I'm going to go to their meeting and I'm going to ask the school board, all right, you weren't in favor of this. I was in favor of it, and I still am in favor of it, because my job is to look at how am I going to keep taxes down for our residents in a way that isn't going to impact the community in a negative way. There's always pros and cons to every project. I sit down with a piece of paper. I look at the pros on one side and the cons on the other. If I got many, many more pros on one side and only a few cons on the other, I'm probably going to be leaning towards that project. I'm not saying that the people that came out against the project didn't have any concerns. That's not what I'm saying. But when you weigh the benefits compared to what it's the negative impacts on the community, with this project or projects like that, I thought that there were a lot more benefits to the community, and one of them being the taxes. So when you look at taxes, people came in and they were complaining that their assessment goes up. Well, when we tell them that the assessment has nothing to do with their taxes, I don't think they understand it. And here's a simple thing: if our budget was, I reduced our budget this year by $300,000. So taxes went down in the village. They didn't go down in the town. They stayed. There was no tax increase in the town because I had to raise the highway tax. Well, the money that we put into the highway. The highway is everything outside the village. But at the very least, nobody got an increase in town taxes. If I do the same thing this year, if our budget was $5,100,000. If I still have keep the budget at $5,100,000, and that's what I'm going to try and do, it doesn't matter what your assessment is. It's still going to be distributed evenly. You're still going to be paying the same tax. Now, if you look at our budget last year, we either reduced it for the village or kept it flat. If I do the same thing, that'll be 2 years with a flat budget or a reduction. What's the school budget been like? Look at that school budget. Every year it goes up. Every year. What are the people on that school board that came out to talk against this project and talk about what's going on with the increased revenue from there? They didn't take that into consideration. What are they going to do to keep our taxes low? Because if you look at our budget, 5.1 million, it's 1/20th of what the school, actually less than 1/20th of what the school budget is. And I believe the school budget was $112 million. That's a lot of money. That's where your money's going. The school budget, that's the biggest portion. I was talking with our county legislator, Brian May. The county's trying to keep their budget down. The town's keeping their budget down. But that's not the bulk of your taxes. The bulk of your taxes are in the school budget. What is the school board doing to keep their taxes down, keep it stable? How can it go up every year? I mean, what are they doing? I never hear anything like that. We need this, we need that, we need this. Okay, well, I need a lot of things. But you have to you try and budget it out and take a look at it. I don't see that happening with the school, but I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be there and ask them, because you have school board members coming and criticizing this, where we're going to help keep the taxes low. What are they going to do to keep their taxes low? That's what I'd like to know from them.
Well, I'll be curious of that answer, because again, I've never gone to the school board meeting or paid attention to their budget, but I do pay attention to school taxes right here in Baldwinsville, Liverpool, and other places that I work, because it's all part of what I do for a living. And everywhere you go, the school taxes are always so much higher than everywhere else. But
last year was COVID. I started working on that budget in March, and we're working on it now. And I went into every department and said, listen, people are in a tough situation. Nobody knows what this economy is going to be like, and it wasn't good. I said, we cannot have a tax increase last year. That's what I went in and did, and we did not. What did the school district do? They raised it. They raised it. Why couldn't they keep that down for 1 year? I don't understand. I mean, I understand you need things. I understand cost goes up. Okay, if you go up the cost of living, well, the cost of living was I think it was under 1.5%. School budget went up over 2%. Couldn't keep it under that 1.5%.
Yeah, I don't know, Bob. I won't speak for the school and what they're doing. I know that, it was a tough year for everybody involved. And I do know that you and the village, because I talked to all of you, and Van Buren as well, definitely were trying to keep the numbers low because it was an unprecedented year. Brian May said the same thing. They were trying to do it. I'm not sure why the school wouldn't have. Hopefully they have an answer for that. And it's a good answer that satisfies everybody, because when those assessment letters went out, there was a lot of panic in our community about the assessments going up. But the assessments, I know, just again, from what I do, is 95 to 100% of market value. And if anybody's paying attention to the market is just, what would have been listed 3 months ago is getting listed higher now. What it would have been listed a year ago is way higher now. And that comes into play with those assessments. And I'd love to have the assessor on here one day to just explain the fact, like you said, that just because the assessments go up does not mean the taxes go up. It just feels like it, and to have that explained by, her name's Teresa, right?
Teresa Golden, yes.
Yes.
And what people don't understand about the assessments, the reason that they go up is that she's trying to keep them stable so that you don't have high increases. And our assessments are between 95 and 100%. Well, if you go to other towns, if they don't do the same thing, some houses haven't been, and I'm not going to mention any towns, but in some towns, they haven't reassessed homes in, say, 25 years. So that means a 25-year-old house is paying the same taxes. So now, is that worth more? Yeah, it's worth more. But who's getting hammered on it? All the new houses as are coming in, they're assessing them at current market value. So what that means is there's this disparity. It means that the new houses are paying this, and the houses that have been around for a while are paying this. They're not paying their fair share. It should be like this. That's why we do what we do. And again, just because assessments go up, if the school district keeps their taxes or keeps their budget the same, we keep our budget the same, the county keeps the budget the same, you're not going to pay higher taxes. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your house is assessed at. If it's $100 that we have our budget at, well, that'll be spread out with everybody. Regardless, it'll be spread out evenly, regardless of what your assessment is. The assessments don't have anything to do with it unless and until your government entities do not hold their budgets down. And I know the county is. I'd like to see what the school district is doing to keep their budget down.
Well, speaking of other entities, there's another thing that we talked about before we went live, and that is the road work on 31. People are assuming that's a town road work, right? Highway department. But in actuality, all that work going on in the on 31 has nothing to do with you, right?
Has nothing to do with the town, and we don't have any control over that. That's yes, and I did get a lot of calls about Route 31, and I had some complaints with them. In fact, I got out and was talking to some of the flag people because I thought that some of the direction and the way that they align the cones was not very well done. But that's all the state and the contractor for the state. And if you have a problem with them, I can't do anything. I'm a citizen just like everybody else. You try to call the state DOT, and we're not going to get a lot through that. By the time I get through to somebody that can do anything, the project will be over with. In fact, I'm looking outside and the cones are gone, so they're probably done today.
They're probably done. All I know is I went the long way around anytime I needed to go. Like, I'm in a golf league at Hickory Hill, and I did not shoot down 31 to go to that. I ended up going out by Gina and Joe's and down past Abbott's and circling back just to avoid it. It was kind of a mess.
Yeah, and I went the back way out off of 60 Road when I went back into the village as well. You know, sometimes that's what you have to do. But we've been doing a lot of road work around the town. The highway department's been doing a lot of things. I know we're just in the process of, I think we just got okay to put out for bid a project on Willett Parkway that we wanted to do. There's a culvert at Willett Parkway and Drake's Landing that needs to be redone. Now that's not going to cause that much of a problem for the residents down there, and it's going to be all underground. It's almost $500,000. It's $440,000 project, and people won't even, when it's done, they won't even know the difference. But it's a big project. It's a lot of money, and I think the engineer isn't in today, but I think that we're ready to put that out for bid, because we are stuck when we apply for a grant. We have to jump through a lot of hoops. And when I got in, that was one of the grants that wasn't completed. We applied for it, but the grant application, there still needed a lot of things to be done with that. But I think we're just about done, and hopefully that one gets done by the end of the year, as well as Connell Terrace for those individuals living on Connell Terrace. That project is probably going to start next week, and then it'll probably go on for about 3 to 4 weeks. That's going to be the same type of project that we did on Mott Road. When they get through, if people go down to Mott Road and take a look at that road, I think it came out great. The water issue, they tied in, a lot of people had standing water in their front yard because there really wasn't any drainage. And then as well, what also exacerbated the problem was people were putting their sump pumps, because it's Indian Springs, you get a lot of water, putting their sump pumps out to the front and into the gutters, and the gutters weren't taking them away. Well, now those sump pumps got tapped into the drainage, and if you go up there, it's pretty dry. I think people were pretty happy with that. Connell Terrace, that hasn't been done in over 30 years, that's going to be the same type of thing. They're putting in new culverts, they're putting in new drainage, they're putting in new catch basins. They're going to do the whole road all the way up to the cul-de-sac, and that should be a nice road when they get through, and the drainage problems should be just about eliminated, 100% eliminated.
Oh, nice. Is that the last project you guys are doing over in that area? Because I know you talked about Connell Towers and Mott Road at the beginning of the beginning of spring that was going to get done. Is those your two big projects? Or?
Yeah, we try to do 1 or 2 big projects a year. Now that one is I think that one's a $340,000 project, and we also did a $160,000 project on West Entry Road from Smoky Hollow down to Loop Road. Well, part of it is already done from Smoky Hollow to the railroad tracks. National Grid's going to come in and they have to tear up the road. Well, we negotiated with them a settlement as far as when they tear up the road, what are we going to do with it? So between them and a grant that we received from Brian May for the whole project, that project from Smoky Hollow to Loop Road, and that should be done, that has to be done by the winter time. So once they get through, that's about $160,000 project, and out of that, the town only had to buck up about $10,000 because of the grant and the money that we negotiated from National Grid. So that was a lot of money we saved there, and those were our two. That's $500,000 worth of projects there. But we have other. We went into Radisson, did a lot of work in Radisson. Some streets, as many streets as we could in there, and then we did a lot of oil and stone. And I know some people called up about the oil and stone. They don't like it all the time, but that's the only way that we can keep the roads in good condition for them. And I realize that there is some when you go over the roads when they're first done, it is a little annoying. I go over the same roads, but once it settles down, once it hardens up, I mean, you have a much better road for a longer period of time. That's how we eliminate the potholes. When we're talking about Radisson, there was, I don't know if you were aware, but we are under a mandate from the state to put up new signage. and we have to have the whole town completed. It was supposed to be completed by 2008, but because of the cost, the state allowed towns to put the street signs up, and as long as you're making progress towards them, we have an extended period of time. Well, Radisson has always had, there's a certain color that you have to use, and green reflective is the color that people are most aware of. Well, Radisson doesn't have those colors. So there was, we've been working with the RCA and their board to try and come up with another alternative to the green signs, because the people in Radisson didn't like them. I get it. You know, they like the aesthetics of the brown sign. The problem for the town is that we are liable. Those signs are in the right of way for the town, and the town is liable for that. So we had to come up with some to see if our attorney and their attorney, the RCA, has been working to see if we could come up with another alternative to the green signs. And if we can, we're going to do it. We may have a solution. I'm not saying that we do, but we may have a solution to that. I'm still waiting for the documentation. And I spoke with Lynn Tanner from the Radisson Community Association. And I said, and I told her there's a few things that I need for the town so that our liability is protected. And if we can get that, we may be able to do something other than the green signs. And everybody's trying to accomplish that goal. But I am stuck because we're mandated to do it a certain way. If I can't get something from the state that allows us to do it something different than what the standards are, then I have to go along with the standards. If we can do something else, you know, we're trying to do it, and we think we may have a solution to it, but we're about 90% there. We'll see. Until we're 100%, you know, it isn't a done deal. It could fall apart at any moment, but if I can get the documentation I need that protects the town from any type of lawsuits, then we're going to move forward and do something more aesthetically pleasing to the Radisson residents.
Well, that, you know, it's funny. It seems like it should be something simple, right, when it comes down. But at the end of the day, when you deal with all the red tape and everything else you have to go through, it doesn't seem like signs should be simple, Bob. That's all, you know, in my head. But you're right. I've lived in Radisson. It's beautiful. I love it. You know, if you change something like that, it seems silly for those of you that are not familiar or think it's crazy what that community has. But it really is. It all blends. It's all, it's just, I don't have the words for it, but you put something in it that's different and it's noticeable.
Yeah. So, and some people called up and they said, well, if you go down to down south to these different communities, or out west, these different communities, what people don't realize is that those communities that they're talking about, they don't have plows like we have plows. So a lot of the things that they do down there, and a lot of the communities that they're talking about, because I had a summer home down in Florida, and that community was called Fishhawk Ranch. It's a private community. They put up whatever signs they want. If it's a gated private community, they can do anything they want. Radisson is not a gated private community. The roads in there are town roads. So because they're town roads, they have to conform to state DOT regulations. If it was gated at Willett Parkway and Drake's Landing and Glacier Ridge, and they could all be cordoned off, Radisson residents could do whatever they want. But that's not the type of community is. The ones that, when people called up and talked about the communities down south and said, if you were familiar with them, which I am very familiar with them, and I know that they're private communities. That's why they can do what they do, and that's why we can't do what they were asking us to do unless we get the approval from the entities that are responsible for the regulations, that put the regulations on us, and they're federal and state regulations.
Yeah. Yep. So we've covered a ton, and we've been talking for almost 30 minutes. Is there anything else as far as, you know, that's happened in the last 2 months that you should really get out to the public before we call it? I know we hit the key things we talked about, but.
Yeah. Pickleball, a lot of people are over there playing pickleball. We're gonna fix those courts. We're gonna add 2 new courts. We decided we moved some money around because we saved some money in the park budget when we were able to take down some trees much more inexpensive. It cost us less to take down the trees than we originally anticipated. So we moved the money over and put them into repairing and making those pickleball and tennis courts are going to be brand new. By the end of July, it's probably going to be a week where you're not going to be able to use them, but when you get through with them, they'll be brand new. And that's what we're moving towards. We got, there's some grants we're working on in the park. We just applied for a $200,000 grant. That would bring in some outdoor gym equipment. And when I say outdoor gym equipment, what we'd like to do down there is have a covered outdoor gym area where you could get a gym like going to Powerhouse Gym. You could get that type of workout with this outdoor gym equipment, and I've seen that before. We're also looking at putting in a parkour type of facility over there for people, that like to work on that type of fitness area. We're waiting for our money to tear down that building so we can start plowing over that old house that's there with the soil all with the hard fill that we have there. But again, we have some DEC regulations that we have to take care of. There's some asbestos in that building, so we're waiting for that money to come in along with the bathhouse. That $100,000 and
what bathhouse, Bob?
A while ago, the town applied for a grant for $100,000 to put a bathhouse in for the Spray Park area.
Okay.
That when I got in here, that was stalled. That application wasn't even complete. We completed that application, we submitted it, and again, we had to jump through a bunch of hoops. But representatives from Senator Mannion's office actually was at one of our board meetings, and I spoke with Derek Carr, is his name. I spoke with him at the time, and Senator Mannion's office is actually working on that. In fact, when I get off the phone with you, I'm going to call his office because the senator wants to come in and meet with me in the town to see what he can help us with, and that's going to be one of the things I'm going to talk to him about, schedule that meeting. So, we're waiting for that, but there's $100,000 out there for that, as well as another cold storage for the highway garage. That application had been stalled. Now we've completed it. We got everything in we needed. Now we just have to have help from the senator to push that through, which I know that his office has been working on.
How is I know you hired, right, it might have been 2 months ago when we were talking, or maybe he'd been there for a month, but you did hire a new parks supervisor, correct? For this year?
Park director. He came from Onondaga County with a ton of experience, and he's been making some changes in the park, positive changes, and I really like what he's been doing. His name's Kevin Merrill. And he's heading up these things, he's the one who put together that $200,000 grant. We come in, we sit down, we come up with some ideas, as well as we got some property that we're trying to swap so we can extend the walking trail to make it double the size. As well as, if you go in the park, that park's utilized a lot. We're looking at expanding the parking in there. We're looking at putting up another field and just and making sure that all our facilities, we're going to chip away at them so that we have really first-class facilities in that park. And what we're trying to do, we don't want to compete against the Y and other entities for what they're doing. What we want to have are things that other people don't have, like the outdoor gym equipment. During COVID, that would have been a home run, and I don't think that's going away. So that was one of the things that I really wanted to see done. The parkour stuff, I think that's another thing. The pickleball. You go over and watch the pickleball. There's 50 people over there every day. You go on the fields on any given night right now, and we are maxed out at our field capacity. So the parking is a problem. So we're looking at taking down some trees, pushing the parking over, and Kevin is the one who is spearheading that initiative.
Nice. Yeah, I have a friend of mine who's never heard of pickleball. Her husband started playing and introduced it to her, and now they're buying pickleball equipment and they're heading over there to play at Lysander. And I believe they have pickleball at the Y, indoors if people want to play indoors. But
Yeah,
I
sure.
played pickleball in Pittsburgh when I was a kid. And so when everybody started talking about it and said it was new, I thought, I'm 46 years old. I think I played pickleball when I was 14 years old. It's a lot of fun. And it's good exercise too.
Most of the people over there are your age and my age or older. I mean, they're mature adults over there playing, but they're pretty good at it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's packed. I mean, really, you can go over like today. I guarantee you, there's a lot of people over there playing. Usually not in the middle of the afternoon, around 11, or around 1 to 4, but in the morning and later on at night, that gets a lot of action over there. The basketball court, we're working on the volleyball. We brought in some new sand, so there's more sand in there. Clean that area up. We're putting up new nets. Really trying to have a facility that people can just go in and use, where you can, you got gym equipment, you got pickleball, you got basketball, we're going to put some cornhole boards up there. We're going to have cornhole tournaments. We're going to have pickleball tournaments. So those are the things that Kevin's starting to work on. And he comes with a lot of experience from Onondaga County. So he's going to be able to get those things done.
Nice. Well, that all sounds good and just in time for everybody's looking for reasons to get back outside. The heat's a little bit tough today. I'll be honest with you. The humidity's killing me. I walked down to the office, so wasn't really sure how puffy my hair was going to be while we were talking today, but it is what it is. What else do you have on your list? Anything that we didn't cover?
Well, we're starting the budget process now, and so for people that don't understand how the budget process works, and I get started on it early. We have, when you look at a budget, you have your wants and you have your needs. The needs portion is how much money does it take to run the town? How much money does it take to keep the highway department running efficiently? How much money does it take to keep the clerk's office open and the justice courts and the codes office? Those are the things. There are certain fixed costs that we don't have any control over because we have employee costs and just the cost of doing business. Then you look at other things. For instance, I'm going to be looking at, this building needs a facelift. It hasn't had one since they've been in here. We did a little bit with the inside, just a little bit with the outside, but what I like to do is repaint this building and start looking at preventative maintenance on, I know our roof is okay. Our roof is good for about 10 years, but if you look at the parking lot needs some work. So those are some things that we budget for that sometimes you can put off till the next year. But you start looking at your wants, and then when you get through, we take a look at the needs portion is set. So then, all right, how much money do we have that through our taxes that we're bringing in, and that we can accomplish without really putting too much of a burden on the community. And that's how we come up with the budget. So while I'm here, I try to chip away at things, and not here. Like I said, there wasn't an increase last year. I'd like not to have an increase this year, but we're getting to the point where if costs keep going up, eventually we have to have some sort of increase. But if we can keep it stable, and that's our goal, to try and do it through grants, try it through alternative funding. And what people don't understand, we budget for like in the codes office, we budgeted for $45,000 in revenue coming in from different things. Well, I looked at it after April, we're at about $43,000, and I went in to talk to our codes office, and I said, how are we so high? People are putting in a lot of pools. There's a lot of people putting in pools. And then when you get a project like the warehouse, what people don't understand, we get tens of thousands of dollars in permitting fees just on that project alone. So if we get X amount of dollars in revenues coming in on top of our taxes, that's how we can keep the taxes flat. That's why some of these developments help with the taxes as well. So I don't know where we're going to be. I think that we're going to be in pretty good shape. We are not going to see a big increase in taxes this year, if any increase at all. but until we get through with our process, I can't say where they are. But I really look to keep that down and still accomplish the things we need to. You look at the highway vehicles, for instance. When I came in a year and a half ago, the average age for the equipment in the highway was 14 years old. I got to have the highway superintendent take a look at it. But we've purchased 3 new vehicles, and we got another one on the way. So that average age is coming down. And why do you want that? You want that because it lessens the cost. Those are all under warranty. Instead of us having to come up with maintenance costs, we save in the, we can send them out for warranty. There's no cost there. I actually spoke to the highway supervisor for Pack B. So if anybody wants to see that, they can Google that for a Pack B episode. But he explained the benefit of, changing out that equipment. So you're not paying for the repairs. And they spent about 20 minutes. It was a lot of really good information that explained how you guys were setting that up and bringing in the new equipment. So, exactly. And we did that with the parks. Last year we had a vehicle. We bought it the previous year, bought a new truck. I think it was little over $25,000. We drove it for a year, didn't put anything into it. I don't think we did an oil change because we only had about 6,000 or 7,000 miles on it. We traded that in for a $27,000 truck, brand new. We traded it in even. So it didn't cost. So we got a brand new truck that has a new warranty and new tires and, already had fresh oil in it. And that's what we're going to try and do. Now, the problem for us now is vehicles, and anybody that went out to buy vehicles at a premium. I don't know if we're going to be able to do that this year because I don't know if we're going to be able to get a truck.
Yeah.
We might not be able to do it. I mean, so it's not us. It could be the manufacturers. If you go on those lots, there's not a lot of inventory out there. So we might not be able to do that this year. But, we're looking at doing it even with backhoes, because we get it at a state rate. We can buy them at about 80% of what it costs. So if we keep it for a year, utilize it for a year, sell it, and say we sell it for 90% of the cost of what a new one would be, that's still more than we paid for it. Then we buy a new one. And that way we can keep this new equipment coming in, and it always has a warranty on it. That's what we are trying to do. It may not work out because of COVID and some other things. Yeah. Try to buy a piece of plywood.
I know. I don't know if you've driven past my house lately, but there's been some projects going on. Those receipts have not been pretty. So
I'll bet. So that's about it. We went through a lot of stuff other than last thing is people in Seneca Estates. I know their yard was torn up their yards were torn up for a long while. We got that all filled in now, and I went out last week and with the engineer and the highway superintendent, and there needs to be a little bit more work done. So in order to make it, because we want to make it right for the residents to make it as nice as we can get it. And so I don't know if they did it last week. They're probably going to be out there this week because it rained a lot, but they're probably going to bring in some more topsoil. It was a little thin, so bring in some more topsoil, and then it'll be reseeded, and hopefully that'll be nice for the fall for those residents.
Nice. So, well, as always, it sounds like the town is doing a lot, and we appreciate you keeping us informed, Bob. I'm kind of excited for the park. Like every time I'm looking for the park update, just again, because I think that's a huge asset to our community. I know the spray park obviously, hasn't been utilized yet. Van Buren wasn't able to open their pool, and people are not happy about those things. But again, COVID changed so many things that we could or we couldn't do that I know next summer, everything should be great, right?
Well, the spray park's been totally open since Memorial Day.
Really? How did I miss that?
I don't know. That's been wide open. Yeah,
really?
Yeah, there's no restrictions on that at all. I mean, once the governor released some and the CDC came out with new guidelines, it loosens things up for us, and we were able to open that up on Memorial Day, and that'll be open till Labor Day. And
so
that's why
we're not allowed to miss months, Bob, because if we miss a month, then I don't get my community update.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, I know. You're right. June, yeah. because that would have been right about the time that we opened it. We opened it like the week before. You're exactly right.
Yep. Because the last time we spoke, nobody knew if anything was going, there was a lot of things that opened up right at the end of May.
Yes.
So
yeah, it opened up. The governor changed things. The CDC changed things, which loosened up the requirements on the towns. What people don't understand, they don't see a lot of the requirements that the state puts on the towns. They don't, and try to explain it, we'd be here for 3 hours. But there were a lot of criteria that we had to meet, and some of them we didn't have the personnel. Other things we didn't have the money to do it. It was cost prohibitive. But once they loosened that up, and Kevin Merrill, again, he came in and he found ways to do that. He's reorganizing things, so he's actually saving money in salaries. He's saving the way he adjusted some of the work schedules and things are saving salaries, and that's when we can save money in salaries, we can put more money into the park. And one of the last things I like to say is we are going to, because the town cannot solicit monies from private entities. It's against town law. But what we are trying to form trying to get people from the community, and I think we have some of them. Cindy Clark is one that they're looking to form a 501c3, which will be, I don't know what it's going to be called, but it'll be something like Friends of Lysander Park, kind of like Friends of the Burnett Park Zoo. And they will be able to go out and solicit funds on behalf of the town park that can be utilized in the town. And they'll have a say where that money goes. So we'll have a representative, probably Kevin Merrill, representative from the town that will be like a consultant for them and tell them some of the things that we would like to see in the town park. And then that way that those volunteers can go out and do things on behalf of the town.
And I know that conversation started in 2019, and then COVID kind of came in 2020. So it was all probably put a little bit on hold. But right. I'm just sad. I know Van Buren, because I talked to Mary Francis, and Van Buren, their issue was getting lifeguards. I guess, with the spray park, you don't really have that issue.
Yeah, their issue. I mean, with a pool, they had there's a lot of moving parts with a pool.
Yeah,
a lot of moving parts. And if you don't have the proper staffing, you could run into some real liability issues. I did some consulting for a hotel company, and a couple of times we had issues with the pool. I got called. They actually had a death at one, and that causes big problems for that hotel. And that would be the same thing for the town. So when people are on the town about closing down that pool, they got to realize that without the proper staffing, you really open yourself up for a lot of liability. So they have to do the things that are in the best interest of the town residents.
Right. And once again, everything kind of opened up. It opened up so late. You know what I mean? Like, had they been told maybe in March. That they could have opened the pool, right? Exactly.
Yeah. Well, they still have the issues, but I know that Onondaga County, they had to, they limited some of the hours in some of their parks because they couldn't find the lifeguards. People went out and got other jobs. They rely on these college kids and high school kids that come home, and they're already moving on to other things.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, that was my piece of news that brightened my day. Because like I said, when I go to the park, it's so early that I don't even think about the spray park. I just assumed it wasn't going to open this year. So that's awesome. Yeah. And my kids are teenagers. They're not running through the spray park at this point.
Probably not going to go in there. I know I have an 11-year-old granddaughter. She's not interested anymore.
She's not interested either. So, all right, Bob. Well, thank you for the update. Enjoy the rest of the day. And no more. We can't miss any. I mean, we probably will. But I'm throwing it out there. We can't miss months, or at least you and I need to have a texting conversation.
No, that's true. Yeah. Sorry about that. I would have told you about that sooner. I didn't mean to say it like that. But.
No problem. All right. Well, enjoy your day, Bob. Talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye.